Breaking Up, a podcast about breakups, love, and pop culture. I'm your host, Isabella Shields, and this week I'm joined by the gorgeous and thrilling Tamara MacArthur. Tamara is a visual artist who has exhibited in Milan, Berlin, Helsinki, Rome, and Turin, as well as Scotland. And her practice involves installations, durational performances, and videos that explore yearning, futility, and the boundaries of intimacy. She incorporates pop songs, classical imagery, and glitter into her works to investigate vulnerability and emotional connection. She also has one of the most fun and joyful Instagrams I've ever seen in my life, and I'm very glad she's talking to me today. Hello, Tamara.
Hello. Thanks for those lovely words.
That's all right. Very easy to make it lovely. But how would you describe your relationship to heartbreak?
Heartbreak. So in my work, it's all supposed to be very heartbreaking. Like I create these kind of scenes which I perform inside of, and they're supposed to be very like heartbreakingly beautiful or kind of hopelessly romantic and nostalgic, and sort of like on the edge of like really convincing and magic, and also like kind of not quite right and a bit falling apart and a bit decrepit and like it might all collapse at any moment. And so it's kind of like, I guess that thing about heartbreak when you kind of you have this really special glittering memory, and then actually like I guess the heartbreak is the coming to terms with that it isn't what you thought it was, and like the crumbling of illusion. And so yeah, that's what I'm kind of interested in with heartbreak. Yeah, and they're kind of living inside that like delusion as well. And I guess like also in my work it's kind of it's about heartbreak in lots of ways, but not in the way that it's like, you know, like when a relationship ends and you're grieving the loss and the end of something. It's kind of more like the heartbreak of like, yeah, well, you're still inside of it, and it's like being really scared of the loss of something, and like kind of clinging on in this desperate way where you know it's going to end, and you're like, oh God, I don't want this to end, and pretending it's really great still, but you kind of know it's not. And yeah,
I love that, because I think that like preemptive heartbreak stage is like so raw. I think that's when everything is at its most heightened, and then after that washes over you, like, the low is so low, but this like hyper arousal state of just walking around like a raw nerve, second guessing everything, and like that clinging feeling, I think is totally like an apt description of things. And I think it's so interesting thinking about relationships and like getting your heart broken in any situation where there's this like the hope is the killer, really. If you think there is still something that's like that you can hold on to, that you can like bring to life and keep alive and like resuscitate basically
and clinging to the story, sort of like, and I don't know how, like, I don't know, when you're like in love with anyone or a situation or anything, and you kind of like, you keep telling the story the whole way through to like make sure that it is the story. And it's like by telling it, you're making it real. And then it gets to the point where maybe you know it's not real anymore, but like that's when you keep telling it more and more to make sure that you're not letting go. And I guess
to make it more solid while it falls apart.
And the fear also of like losing the memories, I think that's really strong. Like that's also what's really upsetting about heartbreak, when you feel like you've forgotten all of the amazing bits, and you're like trying to remember the colors or trying to remember the shape of things, and you're like, I can't remember it, it's all gone, it didn't happen.
I feel like that with a breakup, you're like, do I just have to delete all of this now? Like, is this, I just need to like clear that space in my brain for somebody else now? It's so funny thinking about as well, like the moments when you're with somebody new that remind you of somebody you were with, and then like you get this weird, I guess, kind of intersection of those like lost feelings and those like new exciting feelings. And I think it's so interesting thinking about the apex of that like emotion, I suppose, which is what your work deals with a lot, and that apex of like it's about to hit the fan basically, and it's about to, but you haven't accepted it. And this like boundary, I guess, of acceptance and like refusal that comes with as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think in my performances as well, it's like I've kind of created this like environment that I'm inviting people into, and I always perform to like one person at a time. And we're supposed to be having this really kind of intense moment, and sometimes people give to that, like they give it back, and we do have this really intense moment. Sometimes they don't, but like when you do, it's like this awareness that, oh God, this isn't going to last, because they're going to go and they're going to leave me, and like, but we're sharing this thing right now. And people have said before as well that then they sort of like sometimes feel really terrible leaving and breaking that eye contact and breaking the moment, because then I'm just left like, because part of my performance is like standing there crying and basically singing love songs to them, and then when they leave, I'm just still standing there crying, singing love songs. So, it's this thing of, I guess like people kind of coming in and out of your life, and like the just people passing through and life going on, and you're just left in a lonely room again crying, and then someone else comes in and it's like, oh my God.
And then they just have to leave again. Anyone like, stayed for ages and ages and ages with you, like beyond the point where you were like, okay, I'm kind of done with this now. Like,
I'm never done with it. I'm never done with it. I'm like, give me more. No, but some people have stayed like a really long time. I think probably the longest I've ever performed to someone is maybe like half an hour-ish.
That's a really long time to be staring at someone.
It is a long time, because also I'm usually just singing one song, or like even just a chorus with a song again and again, and crying to them. But then sometimes it gets to the point where I'm kind of like, I guess because I'm crying and I'm looking into their eyes trying to imagine what they're crying about, because sometimes they cry. So then we've got this like, I don't know, it just gets a bit like overload of emotion, which is what I'm craving. But then also sometimes I feel a bit bad, like I'm like dragging them to a really dark place, and we're in the middle of a gallery, and like, I should maybe release on this thing. Like, is this ethical?
It seems ethical, it seems above board. If anything comes out of it tomorrow that's not ethical or above board, this podcast absolutely rejects all association. But no, I think people like, that's what they want. I think like you, the people that, like, will go in and cry with you and feel that with you are doing that because they want to. It's the same as most relationships, I think.
Hopefully it's a relief. Also, not everyone does that. Some people just stand there and laugh at me, or some people are like, why are you crying? Which makes me feel even more heartbroken.
Well, one of the weirdest like breakups I ever had involved somebody asking me why I wasn't crying.
Oh, really?
When I broke up with them, they were like, why aren't you crying?
Wow, it's crazy, isn't it? That kind of expectation for like display of emotion.
Yeah, and like
that.
Yeah, how people, because I think what's interesting as well is like how your work interacts with like projection, because obviously people are coming, and like when people start crying, or when people stay for a long time, or when people just start laughing, which I think is like as natural a reaction as like just because it is really emotional, and like I think a lot of people aren't conditioned or like expected to have to engage with emotion on that level, to the point where it's a bit of a surprise when it actually happens in their personal life. Never mind like in a gallery space. I just think it's so interesting, like what people are bringing to you, and like when you say I'm taking them to this really dark place, maybe against their will, and holding them captive there, like that's not like, it's true to an extent that you've taken them there, but they're the ones that have like wanted it, they're the ones that have sought it out and are staying. And like, it's so interesting to think of like what you become to them in like the narrative of their breakup or their like moment of grief.
I do wonder, like, because obviously you don't know what someone's coming in with that day, you know, you don't know what happened to them that day or that month or year, and I don't know, maybe that's the first time they've cried in ages, or maybe they've been crying all day, or but it is funny because like sometimes people come in and they first of all they can't look at me, and then or first they laugh and then they go out the room and then they kind of come back and they like hover in the background and like kind of try not to catch on, and then they go again and then come back, and then they're quite often the ones who stay really long time, just like
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I guess maybe people are like also pushing themselves to like face a fear, because I get it's a really scary thing being in an audience, and I guess that thing of it being expected to have a response as well. I think people, when they're watching performance, often get like really paralyzed by the expectation that they have to react in some way, or that someone's going to be observing their reaction.
Yeah, because I watch people, like when I'm watching performance art, I like look at what other people are doing all the time, and like I think it's so funny thinking about what you want as like another member of a performance art like installation or something like that, because you want to see how other people are feeling and how they're reacting. And the most common thing I've always found is just like that people are totally still, like people like kind of drop a knee, hold onto their elbow, and just like watch.
Oh, that's so true.
And like it's just funny because like I'm always I'm a starer, definitely. Like Harlan identified me early on in our relationship as a starer because I was just like watching them all the time. But I watch everything, and like I've always been really stary. And absolute creep, to be honest. But
you should work on that.
I never will. But I just love watching people and seeing what they get up to, and like seeing how they are like making it about them or not making it about them. And then like I'm so interested into like what that looks like in like other relationships in their life, basically, and like how they interact with things and like other people. Because I think when you're like that closed, like physically not engaged but engaging with something, I don't know. I just think it's so interesting for like what that says about the person. Like, I don't know.
That's so true. I really remember this one time where I was performing, and this kind of old man came up, and he came like really, really close, and just started, I was singing MacArthur Park by Donna Summer, and he just started like singing with me, and and at first I was like, oh, this is really sweet. Like he didn't stop, and then he just started like asking questions while I was singing to him, and he was like, so how did you make this then, and so wait, so what's this made of, like he just had no problem at all, just taking up so much space and like just being so kind of, I don't know, unaware of the situation, the fact that he was like blocking other people's view, the fact he was just completely disrupting what was going on, and that I wasn't responding to him either, and I was like trying to like engage with him with my eyes, like I wasn't like totally blocking him, but you know, I was like carrying on the performance, and he just didn't stop. And his wife was standing there, and I could just see everything in her face. She was just like, it was just like, he does this all the time. I was like, oh, it must be so bad to be married to you.
I'm so into this man. So it's like a complete lack of like situational awareness. Like I love that he was like, this is for me, and I expect instant gratification.
Yeah, and I want answers.
I want answers. I don't expect anyone else to take part in this. This is for me. I will end and start this performance.
Yes. I was like, you are a person. You are a type of person.
You are a person. Yeah, wow, aspirational, I think. Just totally disrail other people. Just will derail. But yeah. Oh, that's great. I'm gonna bear that in mind for when I'm old and shameless and I'm not. Like...
Yeah, I think maybe we all deserve a moment like that.
I'm guessing you just kept going. And
just kept going. Yeah, eventually he got the idea and moved away. Yeah. Yeah, but people are really funny.
Yeah, it seems like yeah, because I guess that's people, their agenda coming to it as well, or like their accidental agenda when they arrive. But
Yeah.
so funny. Well, people in these questions that we've got here today for you have their own agendas and their own things that they want us to know and know about.
Okay. Amazing.
So these are all really nice questions. They're all like very vulnerable ones. And thanks to everybody who sent them in. They're very cute, very sweet, very heartbroken. But the first one is, if you're ready.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to forget about all the love my ex and I had. I can't keep thinking about it because it just makes me cry and makes me want him back. What am I supposed to do?
No. Oh. I think, yeah, that's always really hard. But I think you do have to engage with those feelings when you've just broken up with someone. Like you can't, it's just like completely unreasonable to expect yourself to like cut those off.
Yeah.
But I feel like, yeah, you do have to like, I think the best thing is that you engage with them, you look at them, like, and then maybe put them in a box and put them away for a time. Because yeah, like I think you can do it really ceremoniously as well. Like you can, collect all the things that you gave each other, like, all the cute romantic stuff, the letters, and like, I don't know, screenshot your favorite texts, save all the pictures, but then put them in a folder. And like and promise yourself you're not going to go into that folder, because I think, yeah, otherwise you just totally torment yourself. You just go round and round with those memories, don't you? And like I remember when I was really heartbroken once, I was like, I listened to this podcast about heartbreak. and this psychologist guy was saying like that when you break up with someone, it's like it's this really addictive thought processes, and you just basically like replay the greatest hits of your relationship like again and again and again, and yeah, you get addicted to those because they're what you're like filling the space that was your relationship with. It's like you're like totally fabricating.
Yeah, you're in a simulation of your own relationship.
Exactly. But it's all like the peak moments. It's like, yeah, the time that you had this incredible day, and then like amazing sex, and then this and that, and you kind of forget all the bits in between. So I think you have to kind of like maybe like, yeah, engage with all the nicer stuff, like very ceremoniously put it in a little box, and then like maybe write a list of all the shit stuff, or like all the moments where they really like let you down, or I don't know, the stuff that made you feel just bad in some way, like anxious or disappointed, and then like remember that it was both, and because otherwise you're just
because I think there are two ways that like I definitely have gone with this in the past, which are either like kind of what I was describing before when we were like just talking at the beginning, which is just like delete forever. Like I'm not engaging with this anymore. Like I'm just gonna get really drunk for a whole day, and then I'm not gonna think about them, and I'm not gonna think about them ever again, and it's all gonna be fine. And then obviously the next day I wake up hungover, and I'm like, oh my god.
Oh no.
But I'm still like, definitely when I was like much younger, when I was like like 19 and 20, I would be like, that's it, it's done. They're dead to me. They're as good as dead, and I'm
dead to me.
And like it's like, even though like I was the one that did the breakup, I acted like they like really badly like hurt me basically, and I was like, no. You're out my life. And like then the other version of that is like when you do that, actually really a month later you get hit by that like movie reel of like all the beautiful moments you've ever had, because you haven't put them away just by saying I'm gonna put them away and I'm done with them, like, and then getting like blackout drunk by yourself, like smoking loads and watching Mad Men. Like it's not real life to do that. But it's really fun to do that. That's like the most indulgent I think I can possibly be of my own personality.
Oh, breakups are so indulgent.
Oh yeah. I think
but
yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine, like, I can't imagine even attempting to be like, I'm never gonna think about them ever again. I just like, there's just no way it would happen.
I
think that's really impressive.
Well, it doesn't work.
Well, no, it definitely doesn't work. But it's an admirable attempt.
Thank you very much. I think because I had like, I think actually it might have been you that told me this like a year ago when we were speaking.
Really?
Like we went for that meeting with the people from Portugal. I told you the podcast. I think it was actually you that was like, you need to think of one bad thing for every good thing. And that's how you like
I think I have said that before. Balance them.
And I think talking yourself out of all the like total idealization, romanticization moments just by thinking of that one other thing, even if it's like a small thing, even if it's just like one time you looked at them and were like, oh.
You are so unappealing to me right now.
In this moment, it's not for me. Or just like a time they were like a bit sharp with you, or like a bit off.
I guess it's like also when you remember when you're replaying all the amazing times, you kind of like tend to remember them as like purely amazing, and like usually, you know, like, I don't know, it was maybe a bit of a weird morning and then you kind of got over it and had this really nice, but you kind of forget all the bits around it. Or
so you can do anything to anything out of context, if you know what I mean. Like sometimes it's when you've had like a really bad argument or like something's happened that like everything's so amazing, like everything becomes like heightened, like the goodness of everything becomes heightened, or like so you can again like overwrite the moment that was upsetting and the moment that was like less than ideal with something great.
It's amazing what your brain does. Like we're all so good at self-delusion. It's crazy. That's why friends are so good at giving you advice that you don't want to hear in the moment when you're in a relationship, because you're just like so in it. And you can't see anything as it is, and then when you're looking at a friend in a situation that's like not good for them, and you're just like, you're worth so much more than this, can't you see that? Like, what are you doing? This person doesn't deserve you, like they can't treat you like that, that's shit. And they just don't see it, because
or they get annoyed,
they're in love with that person and you're not.
Because like you can make excuses for people you love to the end of like time, basically. Like, you can just keep excusing what like they're doing and like how they're making you feel, because you're like, no, but you don't get it because you don't have the context of like what it's like when we're not like this, and when I'm not crying all the time. When I'm not just crying on trains and no one really knows why. Like, so I think but I've totally been in a situation where I've been like, this boy is a dirtbag, or like this person is like a dirtbag, and I hate seeing this. Like, why is it happening in front of my face? Someone's been like, because we're in love and you don't get it, you just think this because of this. And like and I think I've probably done that as well. And then when you have to say you just think this because of how someone has treated me, you have to be like, oh, okay. You have this belief because of the evidence that has contributed to that belief. I see. But you won't do that for yourself a lot of the time. It doesn't need to be like a total disaster or anything. It can just be like a few little red flags.
Friends are so important though to have around, to like and have them be honest with you about stuff like that, so that it doesn't spiral.
Completely. And then you don't have one big moment where you're like, one of your friends talks to you and they're like, I've had all this in the bag for months and months and months, and it's all built up,
and it comes as such a shocker, and you're just like,
so that's another piece of like side advice to this.
Friends, drip it in regularly.
What's the like anti-terror thing? It's like, see it, say it, stop it.
That is, oh my god, that's the best piece of relationship advice ever. See it, say it, sort it. You have to pick things up as they happen. Deal with it, communicate, deal with it, move on. Stop
Stop
it.
it. But yeah, for this person, I think Tamara's first advice is great. I think I really like the idea of having like a physical box, because I have a physical box, like everything from relationships, and like that I have in my room. It's now like a bit full, but it's had like mementos and stuff from all my relationships since I was like 15.
Yeah,
And I like having
it's so
it there.
important.
Yeah, and I like dip into it if I have to like clear it out, and that's always really nice and cathartic. But it also really reminds you of like the reality of the situation as well, like because I have like a thing that the boy I was like absolutely obsessed with when I was 14, 15 gave me, and I was just thinking like his soul was not all that. I mean, like at the time I was like, this is life or death, like he's so amazing, and like I just hope he thinks I'm amazing. And then like thinking back on it, I was like, what? Like, how did you that? Like,
oh wow.
It's just funny going back, and then like other stuff, it's like more rich in meaning, if you know what I mean, and like all that kind of thing. It's nice to just have those things to be like, that was nice, but it's done. So
it like reminds you that time heals and things pass, and like that your mind gets a bit less crazy, it's like with time.
You're less like buzzing around in your own brain after a while, basically. Which I think is good to remember. And I think even having that like physical action of like collection and compartmentalization will be really good.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously it's different. Well, I guess, yeah, it is different if it's been a really healthy relationship to opposed to if it's been like a really terrible, toxic or abusive relationship. That's a different matter. Maybe you don't want them in a box under your bed, you know.
No, unless you can like stamp on the box, unless it's like an exercise in like destroying the box. Like
then you need a different ritual, burn the box.
Putting it all into a firework, shooting it into the sky. Something more like that seems more suitable. But yeah,
I mean, I guess every relationship of every sort, like it is still part of who you then are when you come out the other side. So I guess that's the thing about like fighting the impulse to just like get rid of everything as soon as it's ended and be like, I want them out my life, like delete it all. So, no, that was also you, like it's not just them. If you delete all of that relationship, you've like deleted yourself for however long that was.
Yeah, and that's really hard to do, like very hard to do.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
No. But I think and also everything is like building you up in some way, even if it's like teaching you what you don't want and what you don't like. It's good.
Exactly.
It's all good to know.
You learn, you grow.
You learn, you grow. See it, stop it.
See it.
What is it? Stop it. Vigilante relationship advice.
That's what we're getting.
That's basically the premise of this podcast. Unqualified people talk about relationships.
I know.
As if they're authorities.
Am I qualified? Don't listen to this.
Put it off now. So the next question is, I've just had my heart broken very badly, and I feel like everything I'm doing is melodramatic and annoying. I want to talk about my ex and my angst all the time, but I don't want to bug everyone. I've already wrapped myself up in a duvet and gotten drunk and done all the other rom-com things, and I'm running out of ways to cope. What unexpected thing helped you get over a broken heart?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I know that. We all know that feeling. Like, you're so annoying when you've been broken up with, or you've broken up with someone. Like, it is all that's in your head, and it is all you want to talk about.
Yeah.
You just are going to be annoying for a while, and that's just how it is. I feel like, I don't know, you kind of have to accept that to an extent. And like I think there's space. I think there's a good like window of time where you're allowed to be really annoying and be that person who's just talking about it nonstop and crying all the time and like asking friends to meet up with you and have you over and cuddle and like I think you need that. And I mean, maybe I think it's annoying if maybe you're not someone who gives that. Like if you're not giving that to your friends, then yeah, it's kind of annoying if you're then crawling for it.
Yeah,
But
and you expect it
if
back.
you give, then that's how this stuff works. And
Yeah.
like your friends should have space to support you with that. But then I think then it comes to a point where like that it's getting a bit out of hand, like maybe or it's just unhealthy for you as well, because you're like refusing to move on. And maybe that's when you need to start to, I don't know, like I think the way that my way of getting over heartbreak is just by like, I guess because when a relationship ends, it leaves this big hole where you were getting loads of like love and affection. I just fill that hole with loads of other types of like love. So I just see my friends all the time and phone them all the time. And like, yeah, the last breakup I had, I basically left Glasgow like 2 days later and just went and visited like one friend after another.
But that's good. Keep it moving. Keep rolling. Like, I think what this question really made me think about was like when you start just feeling like a broken record, like when you've got all your chat about the breakup down, if you know what I mean, it becomes like a script.
Like, a script, I know.
What happened was, and then you like walk somebody through everything, and then
chronologically.
Literally, you start telling the story again, and you're like, "Oh, I know." Like you almost like zone out of your own story. And just like reliving it, rewinding, starting again, telling somebody. And I think,
when like your flatmate or I don't know, someone that you share a studio with is then like hearing you on the phone to friends like day after day giving the same talk, and they're like, wow, I've had this so many times.
I remember I was talking to my friend about a breakup, and her flatmate just got up and left the room.
Oh my god!
She was having like the most like heartbreaking part of the story, and her flatmate just like got up and got out.
Oh
no! And then came back in and was like, "Sorry, I just heard the story like 5 times."
Oh shit!
I thought that was so sympathetic. Because I was like, when they left the room, I was like, oh fuck, like something happened, like something weird, like in this breakup, like this friend's gonna be involved in or something.
Oh god.
Like, no, I just can't hear this story again.
Oh dear.
But I think you at least got a month to irritate people.
I think so. Yeah, I think a month is like intense grieving time.
And then you'll have like, and it will get easier after a month as well. So I think don't be so harsh on yourself about bugging everybody. Just bug everyone. Yeah,
just like time. Give yourself some time and let yourself bug. And then maybe, but then also, I don't know I can't think what unexpected things helped me get through.
I think at the moment it's like annoying because COVID's restricted so much like travel and stuff, and I think
I know
phoning, because normally I'd be like, I'm out of here, like I'm away to somewhere else, like just for a weekend, like you said, like just hopping about, seeing like where everybody is. But I think
that's so hard because you want to change your environment, you want to like get away from all the things that remind you of that person, and now you're just stuck in a one environment.
But I would say maybe like changing the environment's the best move. Like if you can drastically change just like your sheets, like everything.
Move flat.
Just get out, leave everything there. But I think it's like funny, like small things that have really helped me in breakups, like literally just getting sheets that are nothing like the sheets you've got for your bed. Because there's something about like waking up and being like, oh, like this person should, like, there's a previous visual that I've had for a human, like my ex is like in this bed with me, and like this is our bed, and then if you make it not really your bed together anymore,
that's true. Maybe swap your room around.
I think so.
I think that's a great way of doing it. Like my friend Elaine, she just like she changes her bedroom around like every 5 minutes. And it's amazing. It just always has a totally new energy. And I think that's quite good to then do when you've just had a breakup. Just
reshuffle. I tried to change my whole room around once at the beginning, like in the middle of COVID. My friend Stephen and I, you can hear in other episodes, he's great. We both just had a really rubbish day, like apart, and then we phoned each other at the end of the day. But part of my like terrible day was just that I was like, right, I'm fucking sick of my flat. I'm moving everything around in my room, and I spent all day like heaving everything in the room like around and changing it, and I was like, I don't like this.
It looks terrible.
It's like I made such a mess of it.
I know, it's such a skill. Like, also, I think some rooms only have one possible way of being because of like radiators and doors and stuff.
I wasn't doing that. I just like lay down and then I look, because I repositioned everything so my bed just faced like out the window, and then I looked out the window and the sky was just like so grey. And I was like, that's gonna be so grim to wake up to, like every morning. Like my wardrobe looked funny, like my mirror wasn't getting any light, and I was like, oh. So I just had to move everything like back round again, and then I went to the shop and bought like sweets I didn't even want.
Oh no! So maybe the moral of the story is like stick to what you know.
No, it's not, because then I phoned Stephen, and Stephen had also just had like such a rubbish day, and had also just gone and done like a really abrupt shop and bought stuff he didn't want either. So then when we spoke to each other on the phone about it, it was just so like funny, and it was just so stupid. And like if you got somebody that was just like commiserate with you on how ridiculous you are, and if you've got like, the thing is that you do kind of need like talking points, I'd say, when you're trying to get out of this like heartbroken, angsty phase. Like you need things to be able to tell people, because I think the other part of being brokenhearted is that you're just wallowing so much that you don't actually do anything. Like you don't like, and there's things you can do. You can be like, oh yeah, I went to the gym, but then like for me, that's kind of the whole story. If someone's like, I went to the gym, I'm like, like
I mean, I can't relate. I've never been to a gym.
Like even I do go to the gym, but I'm still like, I don't necessarily care about what you were doing at the gym. So if somebody was telling me that, I'd be like, okay. Like that wouldn't make me any more excited than it would be to talk about your relationship. I just like finding new ways to do something, even if it is something ridiculous, even if it is something you regret. Like doing something quite physical, like dragging your whole bed and wardrobe.
You need to be physical.
Yes.
And you need to like go into the middle of nowhere and like scream into a field. When I lived at home with my parents, I had this one, we lived in the countryside, and there was this one field outside the village that was like kind of the perfect field where if you screamed at the top of your lungs, no one would hear you. I just feel like everyone needs that. And then I moved to Glasgow, and I remember like I came in the first time that I really needed to cry. I was just like walking around. I was like, where can you cry in a city? There's nowhere to fucking like just really let off steam.
Yeah, I think I use my car for that, definitely.
Oh, like, that's perfect.
Able to drive, I was like, I'm gonna go and like really fucking cry in my car. Like if I need to, especially because like when I was 17, I was moving out and I was like really buzzing to do it, but there was such a long time where like I couldn't find anywhere to live, and like I was like, I was fine living at home, I just didn't want to anymore. I remember being so stressed out by like flat hunting as a 17-year-old. Like every time I got a call that like somebody else got the flat, I would drive to like the same like area outside Maxwell Park in Glasgow, like the little weird like run up bit where you're like facing the park and the road, but you're kind of locked in, like nobody can drive one way. And I would just like park my car and be like and just like cry really, really hard for like no reason other than that I felt like I didn't have a place to live, and I didn't want to keep sharing a room with my sister for the first year of uni.
I can relate to that.
But like I've done that a lot. Like if I get really like overwhelmed with something, because it is totally private, like if someone does see you can kind of just zoom off as well.
Yeah, true.
You can just be like, whoop, and it is like relatively soundproof. Like cars one spot. I'm trying to think of other good crying spots in Glasgow.
I mean,
go to a graveyard.
Then you look like you've got a reason.
Yeah, It's people that you're grieving for a loved one. That's
I don't know. That's not. Huh?
And that's quite a dramatic thing to do. So
Yeah.
that's probably the melodrama you need.
Yeah, I'm always doing things that like make me feel like I'm in a film or.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
completely. I don't think there's any point unless we're all in our own film. And I think everyone should feel like the main character in their film. And I don't think a main character would worry that much about annoying people, you know. I think a main character would just
be self-centered.
Self-centered, live as if you're living for yourself and not like a supporting character. And yeah, just keep it cinematic. That's what I do. I'm trying to think of like, yeah, I think going somewhere weird, going on a big walk, being able to talk to people about the walk, having really, really long phone calls with people.
Yeah. And like, and the other thing that I thought of for this person is like, I feel like what's really useful when you've just had a breakup is like to find someone that you know, and sometimes they're not even like your like one of your closest friends, but like someone who's also recently had a breakup, and then you both are like, oh thank God, like we can piss each other off. We've both got endless capacity for it right now because it's all we're interested in.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's really useful.
That is really useful. Also, like just thinking about a friend that you don't know that well, I'm really into like the idea of like platonic dating at the moment, and like just picking like this basically. Like I really think of the podcast as like a little platonic date. Because like let's but it's just like an opportunity really that I'm not getting at the moment because I'm not going to bars and I'm not like stopping people in the park to be like, let's talk. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like to strangers, like, and I'm not getting like the socialization that I was getting for years and I really, really relied on. Like having little moments where you can just like really, and like I had it with my friend Katie at the start of COVID, who I'd been friends with for a long time, but like really consolidated the friendship like during the pandemic basically, and it felt like we had like a standing kind of meeting basically, a standing little date like every other week where we just like go for like a massive chat, and it was a really like in-depth like walking chats to like get to know each other and hear about everything, and it was just really nice. And like I just think that's what you need, like, and also that'll give you the confidence to like approach people again and realize that you've got good chat and like your stories are new to people and people want to hear them.
Yeah, exactly. Don't go too far into the cave of like wallowing loneliness, because it's just so much harder to come out of it. I think it's really important to like, it's really good to wallow. Like, I'm all for wallowing, but you have to like do, I don't know, like 60% wallowing, 40% like making yourself go out and just do the things that were you before the relationship as well. Like obviously in a healthy relationship you should be retaining you and your sense of self, but also like a lot of things become merged and you become really like interested in things that your partner's interested in, and like, but I think just like thinking back to like you pre-relationship and being like, okay, like what were my coping mechanisms, like what was it that I like to do with myself, like take yourself on nice dates, like really treat yourself, and like buy yourself like the nice thing of something that you like, and like
I think buy yourself really nice pants, whoever you are. Buying yourself really, really nice pants just for yourself and just so you feel really good in your nice pants. And like they don't have to be for anybody else, they can just be for you.
No
buying like nice lingerie for yourself is like
and take selfies. I find that when I'm heartbroken I sometimes look my best. I can get really good skin, which I think is because
you cry and you exfoliate your skin.
And you've got enzymes in your tears, and apparently they're really cleansing for your skin. And also I quite like my face when it's like a little bit puffy, or like my eyes are a bit puffy, and the trick is just like take a shit ton of selfies, take nudes, send your nudes to your friends. That's the best piece of advice I ever got, because they often are way more like enthusiastic and validating than any like partner or lover.
No, I'm a big fan of a friend nude as well. Like, I think I totally agree with all of this. And like, also, I'm just gonna say, like, sometimes after I've like been crying for a long time, my eyes look so blue that I'm like, I'm gonna take some photos.
Beautiful.
Like a bloodshot. I'm like, wow. Beautiful, upset women.
I also have taken photos of myself crying before, going like, oh, I look kind of amazing right now.
It's the best I've ever looked.
And then send those photos to your friends, because they will reply with like a whole paragraph saying like, you're so amazing, like you don't need anyone else. And they know all the things that you're insecure about. They'll address all of those, tell you look incredible. But
yes,
friends are the best. They will give you the best responses, 100%.
Yes, completely. That's so funny. Yeah, I'm a big fan of a friend nude. I don't know why friend nudes aren't more commonplace. I sent her Maddie nudes of myself for her birthday.
Did you?
Yeah, because she was in Australia.
And you knew that she'd be missing your naked body. As I'm sure she was.
We both send each other's nudes, so they're like really good. They're like excellent nudes. But yeah, no, I really back that. That's a good one. And also, I just think everyone should be taking more photos of themselves and like their body, because I think it's really nice. It really helps you with self-esteem issues as well. And I think one thing about being brokenhearted is always like my worry. Like sometimes I find it very freeing, and then sometimes I'm like, what if nobody ever fancies me again?
I know. It's
what if that was it? Like now I've like played up my cards and now they're all gone because I've got out.
I think especially if like a partner has been quite instrumental in like building your confidence about something in particular, and like that's such a strong thing, and then to have that taken away from you, you're like, you think that you felt that because of them, but they helped you, but it's yours now.
It's yours now. You should hold on to it and have it. And you don't do that. All the things they said are like still true in those respects. Don't ignore the things that were upsetting, basically. Anything that boosted your confidence was true.
Exactly.
But I think knowing that you're okay, basically, and knowing that you'll still like look the way you did when you were going out with that person, and that person's opinion of it like doesn't really matter anymore. There's more people that are gonna like love it more and be even more into it, because like nobody's got a horrible body, basically. No. I would be really hard pressed to like look at a body and be like, no. Like, especially if I already like the person, like, I don't know, I just think you'll like yourself more the more you see of yourself. Because I think when I felt my worst, I get really like, I will only wear baggy clothes, I will only wear like stuff that I can kind of hide in, basically. Like I will only wear like things that mean I could be any shape.
I do the same.
But that's actually like not that helpful overall for like
no I actually think that I've started wearing much tighter clothes recently, and it's really helping, because you can't hide from yourself. I think like when you have to look at yourself, you just like get to like it more. Like I used to always wear like floor length skirts because I hated my legs, and then I was like, no, you have to look at your legs, you have to engage with your legs. And then after a while of doing that, you're like, oh, you're not too bad. You're always there.
Yeah, I'm sorry for giving you a hard time. You help me walk.
Yeah, exactly. But also, like when it comes to that stuff, I think it's like if you're feeling really low confidence, and usually that always gets turned on your body and your image, it's never actually the problem. It's always to do with how you're feeling about yourself more generally. And so I think like doing the things for yourself, like treating yourself nicely and doing the things that make you feel good, like doing the things that are your strengths, and reconnecting with people that make you feel good about yourself, then it'll
all come through. You'll be fine. Find a place to scream, do all the things Tamara just said, and then if you can think of like a weird hobby, like if you're like, I've always wanted to do this weird thing,
something new as well. And
then even if you hate it, like moving the whole room around, it's kind of funny if you like start You're like, I'm gonna crochet. And then you start it and you're like, what the fuck is this? Like, why have I spent 30 quid on like wool?
That's what I did in lockdown, and I still haven't done it. I've been using my crochet wool to like tie other things together. I never did it.
See, it's funny. I have 6 woolen items I started knitting.
Hey,
Yeah, but they don't get finished.
oh,
Yeah, and I'm like, the problem is the wool. I am not the problem. I'm just sick of this wool.
yeah.
And then you end up like starting to, so I've got all these like little stubs, like woolen items.
Maybe you should just patch them together. It might look pretty.
That's the thing. I did that and it looked horrible.
Really?
So
I would like it. Send it to me.
I'll send it. Don't worry. But then I started using some of those little things to like wrap up little presents and all that kind of
Oh,
thing.
that's great.
And it's kind of worked out. So even if you think that your hobby you've taken up is a disaster, it'll be funny and you can reuse it. Reduce, reuse, recycle. See it, say it.
Sort it. Say it. Love it. Sort it. Reuse, refuse, and recycle.
But yeah, if anyone wants to write into the podcast or get into my DMs with unexpected things that help them with heartbreak, I will talk about it in the next episode, and I'll do a little list and I'll post it on the Instagram story, and it'll be lovely. So I guess the final question is, I like this one. I am so angry about my breakup, and I feel like people don't understand why it was all such a mess. My friends are also friends with my ex, and I feel like I can't talk to them about it in as much detail as I want, because it'll all get back to him, or they'll say I'm making them pick a side. What can I do?
Oh, I feel like anger is just a really necessary and natural part of a breakup. Like it is a phase that you have to go through.
Yeah, completely. I feel like we don't get that many questions about anger on the podcast, but like, yeah, you just get really fucking annoyed, like beyond frustrated that this person like still exists in the world and is like moving around and just doing what they want. Like, you feel
it's like when you talk about an ex and you use like past, you're like, even you're not like saying like, oh, they used to do this. You're like blah blah was this, like they've died, and that's kind of what you don't want them to be living 3 streets away.
No, you don't. You don't want to see them in the shop, like looking nice and have
I don't want to see them on Vicky Road.
I think like I totally understand being really, really angry, and I understand being just like like comically livid that this person is like still there when you're like, no, I'm finished with you, like we finished with each other, you need to move to Timbuktu, you need to like get in the sea and never come out.
Yeah, well, I think it's really hard because I think with a breakup, you really like space is so important. And if you don't get that space, like it's going to take so much longer to process and get through it. So I don't know, I've never had that situation before where someone's been like totally enmeshed with my social group.
Yeah.
That would be horrible. I would hate that. That would be so anxiety inducing.
Yeah. And I think it's such a shame that you have to think about speaking about things tactfully as well in this situation. And like that feels like a really horrible pressure on you. Like I would hate that. I would hate to have to like pick and choose what I was allowed to be upset about in case it got back to him. And like I think if your friends do that, it's really shit.
Yeah, I don't think exactly. That's what I'm like, why would they tell? Why would they tell your ex? That's crazy. Like they shouldn't. No, but if they're good, respectful people, they shouldn't do that.
Yeah, I agree. And I just think you can probably, if this is just something that you're worried about because you're conscious of the friend group and you're conscious of that whole thing, you can just be like, I would just take like at least 2 friends aside and be like, I need to know that this is all going to be confidential. Yeah, because like I've got a broken heart and I'm wondering about it, and I feel like all my blood's like pouring out all the time, and I need someone to pay attention to that in a way that doesn't make me feel like weird and unsafe about talking about it. Like I want to be, and like then if your friends kind of, if they are like super super close with your ex, I would say your friends do kind of reserve the right to be like, okay, but there are kind of limits to this. Like I can only hear about like so much of it before I have to kind of remind you that he's my friend as well. Like, and I don't hate him.
I think it's also about how you frame things, you know, like I think you can, like you say, if you just kind of start with kind of, you know, like, I'm really sorry, I know that this might put you in a difficult position, and like I totally respect the fact that you're friends with them, and like, you know, I'm not expecting you to stop being friends with them, but like I'm just going a bit out of my head right now with all of this, and like, I'm sorry, tell me if I take it too far, but I kind of need to say all this stuff because I'm really angry. And
I take
and then as long as you're like receptive, if they're kind of telling you that you have crossed the line, but also I really think that you need some people in your life that you can just like, that are just yours. They're not going to stick up for your ex. They're just going to hear you out and tell you that everything that you're saying is right and fair, and everything that you're saying about them is like true. And you know, like, and you don't, like, I don't know, when I'm saying things like that, like really one-sided, you know, and you kind of know that you're being unreasonable, but sometimes you just need to like air that stuff and have someone say yes,
just validate you, because that's like the whole thing. And I was talking to somebody at work about this last night. She was like, you just don't always need someone to try and fix it, and you don't always need someone to like manage what you're saying. You just need someone to listen and be like, yeah, that is shocking, that is shit, like I hate that, like that sounds awful, like I would hate to go through that, instead of somebody being like, well look, here's what we can do. Like,
exactly. I think like my friend Jack is like, he's so wise, and he's like the best listener. And I think his thing that he says he's learned to do is like, you don't have to give people answers, you don't have to like try and fix it for them, and actually what people often want is just space to talk and for you to hear them. And so I think also like that should help your friends to not, you know, obviously it's kind of, it maybe puts them in a difficult position if they're having to give you advice on how to handle it, when like that advice might be then going against their other friend. And but if they're just listening, they should have time and space for that if they're your friends. Like
and like you should know that he should feel comfortable doing that as well. Like that's the thing.
Exactly.
Like as long as you can accept that that's probably happening on the other end as well,
exactly,
then everything's okay. But your friends can completely be like, I can't do this anymore. Like that's one thing that I would say. They should listen as much as they can. If they're good friends both ways, they'll listen as much as they can, and they'll help as much as they can.
Your people on
yes. I think having like a sleepover basically with like two of the people, or like two or three of your friends who you want like to be comforted and protected by, I think would be the move here. Just being like, I just need like a very cozy, caring space where I can have a moan, and we can just do things that will distract me, and like I just need like 2 days of your time. And then that'll be it.
Exactly. And also like friends have different ways of comforting you, like in breakups. Like I've had friends that have, you know, their way of handling it, like they're not very confident about talking about emotional things, so that's not how they support me. Like they'll just do really nice things and keep you distracted, like you just said. Or then there's people that are total talkers, and they like will hash it all out with you, and that really helps. And then so I think just looking for like a range of support from people, and also writing things down, definitely. Like, because I don't know, when I've been really heartbroken, I've written like insane numbers of letters to my ex, like saying everything that I want to say, knowing that I'm not going to send them, or maybe sometimes thinking that they were like drafts of letters that then I was going to send one. But I think that's a really good way of getting stuff out, because by the time you've written like 10 letters, sometimes you're like, oh, I've said it now. I've like had it, I've said it in some way, I've like put it out into the world, I've gotten it out of my body, and I don't need to say it out loud anymore. And so maybe if there's stuff that you really feel like you can't tell anyone, that you just need like an outlet, writing is a good, it's quite nice.
Totally, because I think I've never felt better for saying something horrible to somebody. Like,
no,
never happened.
No,
I've never said how I really felt about something and it was horrible and it was like nasty and it was like a bad feeling for me that I made horrible for somebody else. Like, it's never been productive in my whole life.
No.
Like, not once.
Because if there's one thing I think that helps you to like get over a relationship quicker, or process it better and come out better the other end, is just knowing that you have like done right by you and you've done right by like the person that you want to be, that you've behaved in a way that you would respect, and you've said everything that you needed to say, and you've like just being like not doing yourself an injustice and being like a like angry person that you feel, but like maybe you need to find ways of getting it out so that you're not enacting that.
Yeah, because also in this situation you don't want to lose the high ground if you've got it. Like, you don't want to like,
we all want the high ground in a
we
breakup.
all want the high ground. Everybody wants the high ground.
Yeah,
it feels shit to have the low ground, I can tell you that now. It feels rotten. But if you've got like, if you do have the high ground, and if you can be like, I haven't done anything wrong and I shouldn't be punished because I haven't done anything wrong, that's really good. Don't push it to the point where you have done something wrong. And people are going to find out and be really angry at you, because the last thing you need is to have hurt people's feelings and made other people angry when you're hurt and angry.
Yeah, it just gets messier. Like, try and keep it as simple as possible, as like close to the actual issue as possible. Don't.
And don't just be like, has anyone ever thought about how ugly they are? Like, has anyone ever thought about how like vile and shit they are? Because I'm going to tell them. Like, don't. Like, just keep that to yourself. Don't, like, especially because so many of those thoughts are like completely fleeting. Then you just get like really angry and worked up, and you could just like contort people into whatever you want, like not even whatever you want them to be, however they feel to you in that moment. Like, it's not always the best idea to tell somebody.
Yeah, I think in those really heightened moments, actually just like dealing with it in some private, like, but productive way.
Yeah.
Like, in those moments, you shouldn't maybe even really be talking to your friends. Like, you should just be getting that out of your system. And like, I don't know. I mean, I like do a lot of drawings when I'm heartbroken, and I like will be crying and like smudging stuff around and like getting it all out. I put them in a little folder. I put them away, and no one ever sees those.
Good. That's fun. I really like that. If this, I think this person will be okay. Basically, I think this person's very wound up in this moment because they feel like they can't talk to their friends, and that's really understandable. Maybe you should talk more to yourself.
Talk more to yourself. Find someone on the outside that you can bitch to.
Yes, and then just try and tell your friends what you need.
Yeah.
And you'll be okay.
Hope that helps.
I'm sure it will. Write back, tell us if it helps, and then tell Tamara.
God, I feel like with all those questions, I've just given so many things.
But that's okay. We've got to keep the people busy. Everybody who's going through a breakup needs to be kept busy.
Take notes.
Oh, thank you so much for answering these questions with me. But I have another final question for you, which is kind of a two-parter, if you've got two parts to it, which are, what recommendations do you have for people for like a film or a song or a book or a TV show for coping with heartbreak and getting over a broken heart?
So film, Thelma and Louise. I guess everything that I've been saying, it's like just surround yourself with lots of different other kinds of love, and like and like revisiting the you before the relationship, and like going back to your essence. And I just think I just love Thelma and Louise, and it's just this film where like at the beginning they're both these people that like I guess their like exterior lives are really present, and Thelma's like in this shit marriage with this terrible guy, and Louise is kind of, she's pretty cool, but she's also got this kind of like crap man on the side somewhere. And and then just through the film they're just like shedding all these things, and it's just like them at the end in the desert looking like really fucking cool. They have each other, and they know that they're going to have each other, and they go through all these things, and you know, like everything's going wrong for them, but they've got each other, and then until the very end, and they're like, fuck it,
yeah.
Yeah, it's just a good solid like friendship film, and I feel like there's a lot of films that are very much about love, and yeah, like most films are about love, like romantic love. There's not enough films about friendship love. And
I'm trying to think of like any others, and I can't.
Yeah, like, I love friendship love films, but they're
few and far between.
Yeah. People are definitely very obsessed with like romantic love, but there's lots of loves.
Yeah.
So
I mean, like, I'm doing a podcast about romantic love, and you're practicing
really
heartbreak. So I think we're those people. I love that your response was, yeah, you're really obsessed. Absolutely obsessed. Unhealthy. You're fixated.
No, it's really healthy. It's a really productive outlet. You've created something beautiful from it.
What is your song or album recommendation? Do you have one?
It's not that I don't know if I'd recommend. Yeah, maybe I would. My when I'm feeling really heartbroken, my go-to is this band called the Ink Spots.
I love the Ink Spots. Yeah, If I Didn't Care and all that.
Yeah.
They're beautiful.
So beautiful, and it's just really heartbreaking music. It's like even the ones that are like nice love songs, they kind of all follow this like slow, like I don't know, like very nostalgic melody. And what I love is all the Ink Spots songs, I think they have like 3 variations of like melody. They all follow the same structure, so they're really comforting. And when I'm feeling heartbroken, I just want things that are really like familiar, and like I'll listen to the same song on repeat all day every day. So I kind of love that about them. And it's just, I don't know, it's like they've all got really heartbreaking voices, and the lyrics are really nice, and the kind of like almost the sound of it is like kind of fuzzy and soft, and it kind of suits feeling when you've been crying loads and your eyes are feeling really kind of like puffy and dry, and it just all kind of goes together. And
it really goes together. Yeah, it's such nice swallowing music because it's really beautiful and it's really light, but it's also like all the backing singers having this kind of like hauntingly, like, I don't know, there's something really airy but really like sad about the backing singers as well. And
it's really sad music.
There's like there's a lot of talking in it as well. Like there's always a moment where someone's like everyone's just doing these little kind of ghostly like oohs in the background, and then the lead singer is like addressing you to be like and we're talking about like cinematic moments and like making yourself feel like you're in a film. The Ink Spots are like 100% up there with like I am a film.
I go for a lot of walks and cry to the Ink Spots.
Right. Thanks so much again for coming. Do you have anything you want to plug? Do you have anything you want to direct people to?
I guess just my Instagram. Tamara MacArthur, and my website, tamaramacarthur.com.
Very nice.
That's what I've got to plug right now in Corona times.
Well, amazing. You can ask us any agony questions you want to ask us at breakinguppodcast@gmail.com, or you can DM me on Instagram. Everything will be kept anonymous. Don't worry. Like, I'll know, but nobody else will, so don't panic. and we'll talk about it on here, and we'll make fun of you a little bit, but we'll try and be nice. And I hope you all follow me on Instagram at Breaking Up Podcast, and I hope you all have a nice week and a nice time. And yeah, lots of love. Bye.
Thank you. Ciao. Bella.